Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Passion Project podcast. My name is Yuvraj, and I'm the co-host of the podcast.
Good morning, people. I am Niels, and I am the other co-host of the podcast.
And today we have a very famous and special guest joining us from Segovia. She traveled all the way from Segovia to Madrid for this podcast.
For you guys.
For you guys, very special. And
yeah, we'd like to welcome Beatrice today.
welcome.
Welcome.
Yes, you pronounced my name perfectly. Good job.
So, we just could you just give the people just a little bit of a quick introduction, so they can get to know you a little bit?
A little background.
Sure. Academic-wise, I am a first-year communication student at the IE Segovia campus. I actually took 2 gap years before starting college, and what I spent those years doing is mainly working on my YouTube channel called the Bliss Bean.
Check it out.
Yes, like and subscribe. I started it in April 2018. I was always interested in making things for the internet, but I didn't start making YouTube videos until April 2018, so I've been doing it for almost 4 years. The channel is about productivity and personal development, just my life. Now it's obviously more college and studying related, and by now it has approaching 300,000 subscribers.
I mean, that's basically that's also where we're gonna go. Obviously, with this podcast is what we're trying to aim for, and it's very. I feel like it's very cool. Like, not many people, I think, know people with this much exposure. Is it weird for you at uni and stuff like that? With people, do people come up to you or not really?
So prior to coming here, I had never been recognized on the street.
Okay.
That's partly because I lived in Madison, Wisconsin, so there's 250,000 people. It's not like LA or New York or something. And I also never really vlog out on the street, and I think to recognize a YouTuber, people first need to see the context clue if they're holding a camera or something. But if I'm just out and about with my mask on, no one's gonna recognize me. So I never ran into anyone on the street who knew me. But I think the first time I got recognized by someone here, it was, so I was supposed to attend IE last year, and then I deferred because of COVID. So it was someone who found out about me because I was going to be joining their just their class year.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, she never showed up. I wonder what happened to her. And then I came the next year, and they recognized me at the club fair, which was super exciting for me. That was definitely my first time where someone had seen me on YouTube before meeting me. Yeah, I guess now I've been walking around the university. Sometimes people will say, because I did a first week at IE University video,
I saw that. We watched that video.
Everyone saw it.
No, it was good. It was good.
Because of the algorithm, all of the IE students had it recommended to them. So then people have been recognizing me that way. But it's usually not instant. They'll need to be talking to me for a little bit, and then they're like, wait, aren't you that girl on YouTube?
I remember the first time I met you in the arcade in Madrid, and I was like, I've seen you somewhere. I was like, you're famous.
And it didn't even occur to me how, because you said, we've met before, and I was like, no, we haven't.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure we haven't. But then I remember that my face exists on the internet.
Yeah, so, but it's not too bad. It's it's a good, it's not, it doesn't get in between your day. It doesn't ruin your mood or anything when people come up to you. It's alright.
No, not at all. It doesn't happen very often, and I also don't talk about it unless I'm not gonna willingly offer that information in most cases. So if they ask me about it, then I'll say. But usually I like to hide it.
Yeah.
Cool. So why do you call yourself Bliss Bean? What's the background, the backstory?
It's kind of convoluted. So when I first started blogging, I was very interested in cooking and healthy meals, and I also wanted to incorporate my name into it. So my first name is Beatrice, so that's Bea. First letter of my last name is N, so bean. Bean is also a food.
Okay.
It makes no sense really.
Okay.
And then I just like the word bliss because alliteration, and also I think the overall tone of the blog and also kind of my personality is just optimism, and so I like the idea of having bliss, a word that means happiness in it. So the Bliss Bean. And there have been points when I wanted to change it and I hated it because a lot of YouTubers will go just by their name. And I was like, that's cool. Like, you get big and then you get known by your name. But my name, I don't think is very catchy. No one will be able to remember it off the top of their head. My full name is Beatrice Naujalyte. It's Lithuanian, so it's hard to pronounce. It's long, it's hard to spell. But eventually I kind of came to terms with it, so I don't mind the Bliss Bean anymore.
Yeah, it seems like this is the most like work I've seen go into a name. 'Cause we had two DJs on, shout out Jacob and Jordan, and you just like one of them just said, yeah, that was my Xbox name.
Oh.
Like my
Reigns.
And you actually put some thought into it.
Yeah,
Okay. Cool.
But I do think that it gives off that optimistic vibe for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Do you feel like pressure to be like positive or like even just like productive and like kind of a role model kind of esque that you have to behave like a role model all the time, or is that like not really on your mind?
I wouldn't say it's huge. I would say I feel the opposite. I feel a responsibility to not try and like trick people into thinking I'm always productive and actually be more honest. I guess that's on the internet side of things. In real life, I don't know. I've always been kind of the type of person who's always like, I don't know, optimistic about situations and trying to make other people laugh. I would say that in high school, I was very, I was really out there and involved in everything and the leader of a bunch of different clubs. And now that I'm at university, I feel like I'm a lot more low-key, you know? Yeah. So I'm not in as many roles where I'm trying to like lead people or inspire people or anything. I'm just kind of like there in class. Yeah. I don't know if that'll change, but for now I like the change. I like just being able to be a student and just focusing on my classes and stuff.
Obviously a lot of work also goes into your videos, right? Because I saw on one of your Instagram highlights that you spend between 4 and 13 hours on one video. Like, obviously we edit as well, but nowhere near between that amount of time.
Okay, so to be fair, 4 to 13 is the range. The average would probably fall around 5. I've definitely gotten pretty efficient at editing, and a lot of people will comment to me, like, how does it only take you 5 hours based on all the little things that I add to my videos? Because for me, the artistic side of the editing is super important. I did not really ever want to outsource my editing. That's one of the first things that YouTubers outsource, but for me, it was like, that's the part I enjoy the most. Like, why would I give that to someone else to do? It no longer feels like my video. So for me, everything about like how I compose the shots, timing it with the music, like adding little illustrations, color grading, everything is so important to me. But I have developed a process, so it usually takes about 4 to 5 hours. The 13 hours is probably if I'm editing like a vlog or something, and in that case, you have to like take a massive amount of footage and try to create a story out of it, and that takes a long time. But if it's just a video where I sit down, I follow a script, I say something, I film some B-roll, it's just like bada bing, bada boom, you know? It's very procedural to do, so 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah, it's also all very, very relaxing videos. I'm not gonna lie. Like when I watch some of your videos, it's just like I feel just calm. Just
it's quite relaxed.
Calm energy.
And very relaxed, yeah.
Nice.
That's good. Like to kind of portray that to the doing, kind of purveying that productivity in a way that's like not too. Because you know some people very like high energy. You go like do you know Gary Vaynerchuk? Gary V.
I've heard of him. I never really had a desire to
he's
watch
just like
his
content.
Yeah, and
he's like super stressed,
exactly.
super stressed and super high energy.
Yeah. It's not like something that you want to like. You don't. It repels some people, you know.
Yeah. Like I think for sure there's a market for his content and there's a market for mine as well. I couldn't make videos like him. Like I don't have that much energy, but I also know that there are people who enjoy quieter, more relaxed videos. So my videos are for them. Yeah.
For you guys watching right now, that's
for you.
So do you think like in order to be productive, you have to have a certain amount of stress? Or do you think that you can just be like calm and productive? Like for example, talking about myself, sometimes when I'm like super calm, I'm not as productive. And when I put like a deadline and I have like a little bit of stress, I just go like all in, you know. It's just that I'm completely in the zone. So like, what is your opinion on that?
I think for sure it depends on the person. Like one thing I know about myself is that strategy of like leaving it to the last minute and then
I do that.
using the pressure to fuel you. That does not work for me. My brain does not go like, oh, let's get this done. My brain just goes, let's give up. Like it's not worth it at this point. So for me, leaving it to the last minute doesn't work. But in terms of deadlines, something that I like to do is like time block my week. And so, for example, for this morning, actually, I did a reading for my media culture class, and I estimated...
Professors, see, she's doing it.
Vincent Doyle. I estimated it would take about an hour and a half, and so I put that on my calendar, and that's like a mini deadline. The due date for that assignment, actually, I don't know when it is. Like, let's say it's Thursday, but I'm not going to treat that as the deadline. I'm going to make my own deadline, and I'm going to say, like, I'm giving myself 90 minutes Monday morning to do it. And that does give a little bit of stress. It's like a goal. I'm trying to stay focused on the reading so I can get it done. But if I don't meet the deadline, nothing is actually going to happen because I scheduled it so ahead of the actual deadline, you know?
Yeah.
So just like setting these little mini goals for myself, it's like a tiny amount of stress, but it doesn't actually like get me overwhelmed.
Cool. You know.
Yeah. Just on top of that, just like, so is that what you would recommend for the people to like? Because I feel like
set your own deadline before the main deadline, right? Is that what you're saying?
100%. Yeah.
That's
what I'm
the
saying.
right way to do it.
Yeah. So how do you get around? Because I feel like everybody knows this. It's 11:24, and you're like, okay, I'll start working at 11:30, and then it's like
11:32.
Do something else. 11:30. Okay, you know what? 11:40. Now you know what? Round number. Let's do 12. How do you get around that? How do you say? You know, how do you get yourself to actually start at 11:30, or do you? If you do.
I would say I do. Yeah. I think the fact that I already have an idea of what I'm doing for the whole day. You know.
Yeah.
One thing I really emphasize is the idea of reducing the amount of decisions you make during the day. So like today, I have basically my whole day planned out. I knew what I was going to do in the morning before I got on the bus to come here. I knew what I would do after, what I would do when I got back to Segovia. And so in any given moment of the day, I'm not sitting there asking myself like, what should I do now? What should I work on now? Because probably the answer is going to be, I don't want to work on anything. And then you have to use willpower to get yourself to do something. But if I literally decided yesterday how I'm going to spend this day, then there's no effort that goes into it, you know? I just follow the plan that I already created, you know? So like I finished breakfast and I didn't have to think about what I would do next. I already knew I'm going to do this reading for media culture class, which I finished.
So you do that every night. Every night you plan for the next day.
I try to plan out the majority of my week on Sunday and then just like adjust it a little bit as the week goes. Yesterday I was at a coffee shop with a friend and I was doing my weekly planning, and like once in a while she'd ask me, "Oh, what are you working on? What are you working on now?" And every time I was like, still doing my weekly planning, and she was like, "Why does it take you so long?" It probably took me like two hours to complete. But that's because like I wrote out everything I needed to do this week. I put it all on my calendar. I figured everything out. So yeah, it takes a long time, but I think it's a very worthy investment.
I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I'm very impressed. I feel like this is the encapsulation of that quote. Discipline is always going to be like discipline over motivation. What is it again? You've got discipline. You don't say I'm going to trust on the motivation in the moment, because you're probably not going to have it anyway.
Yeah.
You're being realistic and saying, you know what, I'm going to be disciplined, going to plan it out, and I'm going to follow it as it goes on. I feel like that just works, right?
Yeah, and of course I think you can take discipline too far as well. I think I might say like planning over discipline over motivation. You know, like once everything's planned out, it feels like it takes less discipline to follow through with it. Of course, some, but there will be days when, I don't know, maybe I planned to write my essay and like my brain just cannot write an essay that day, but having that plan still helps because then I can just like move around. I can take that block that I scheduled for writing my essay, move it to the next day, and do something else instead. So even if your plan changes, it's still good to start with a plan.
And like, what if you've planned a lot of things and then you have the discipline, but then at some point you're just not feeling it? Because I mean, discipline is like basically saying that you don't care about your feelings, you're just gonna do it anyway. And then what if like when you're not feeling it, how do you like convince yourself or persuade yourself to do it anyway? Like, is there any tool that you use or?
Well, one thing I would say is sometimes you shouldn't try to persuade yourself. I think the thing that taught me that most was video editing, because video editing is I did say it's a very procedural process, but it also involves a lot of creativity. And there have been a lot of cases when I sit down at my computer and it's just like not happening. I hate how it looks. I can't make it look the way I want to. And so I decide to stop. And then maybe I pick it up the next day and all of a sudden it's flowing and I love editing and it looks exactly how I imagined it and everything is perfect. So yeah, to a certain extent you can always discipline yourself into doing anything, but sometimes it's just not the right time. Of course, if the deadline is coming up and you are not in a position where you can put it off at all, I don't know how to you just gotta sit down and do it. I don't know what to say.
You also just have to check the vibes, because I know exactly what you just talked about with the video editing. I've had some podcasts that we edited and I just hated everything. I hated my reactions. I hated everything about it. But then
when you look at it on another day,
exactly,
it's totally
it was
different.
Totally fine. And it's just like, sometimes your mind is just not in the
right frame.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
How do you reframe your mind? What do you do when you're like, you know what, enough, my mind needs some rest, or I need to recalibrate or something? What do you do?
Brain breaks. Well, taking regular breaks for sure. I like to use the Pomodoro technique, so I usually work for 25 minutes at a time and then take a break for about 5 minutes. Doing these things has been very important for me, especially now that I'm away from home and like university is new, so I need those things to like ground me sometimes. So things like going outside or exercising, spending time with friends, like it's all stuff you need to do, but as soon as I slip into a pattern where I'm like staying in my residence room for too long, not seeing other human beings, not getting fresh air, you start to feel it. So like when I'm planning my week, I already am scheduling time and being like, okay, today, for example, I have a call scheduled with a friend and I was like, I'm not going to have much time to be very active today, so I think I'm going to go on a walk while I call my friend. So already like blocking that time in. Yeah.
Okay.
That is so useful. I mean that, you'll just do it when you've planned it, you're more likely to do it. So that's the whole.
Because if I didn't like set aside a block of time to go to the gym, for example, there's other stuff is definitely going to take up that time.
Yeah.
There's no way it's going to happen. Yeah.
Sometimes, like, I've used, I'm sure you use these apps as well, Notion, and I've used another app called, I think it's Productive. Have you heard of it?
Mm-mm.
So, I mean, I used to use Notion. I don't use it anymore, but I use, like, Productive and Todoist sometimes.
Yeah.
And, like, just putting your daily schedule on it. Like, for example, I do meditation, I do journaling, and I also read every day.
Yeah.
So just having those things on there and then just ticking off the box, that is, like, super satisfying.
Yeah.
And when I don't do it, like the days that I don't do it, there's a major difference in feeling and a major difference in productivity.
I think another overarching theme of my content is getting as much out of your brain and onto paper or onto digital or whatever as possible. I'm also a big fan of to-do lists. I use this app called To Do. It's spelled TEUXDEUX. I've tried, I know.
Crazy spelling.
It's French, it's fancy. I've tried other fancier task management apps, and it never worked for me. I like to do because it's literally just a column for each day. You type your tasks and then you can move them around, and that's it. Like, there's no due dates or priority levels or colors.
That's
or
so
labels.
complicated. I don't know why people do that in Notion, right? A lot of people do that.
It overwhelms me. So for me, it's literally just a list of things that I want to do during the day, and I also like it to make it very granular. Like, literally at the start of the day, it'll be like breakfast, check, vitamins, check, like brush teeth, check. And it just makes you feel good to cross things off throughout the day. And anytime a little thing pops into my head, like, oh, I need to ask someone this in class, or I need to email someone about this, I put it on the list so that it's not in my head, and that just makes me so much more focused and like my brain work better on the things I'm actually doing in the moment.
Totally. Another benefit is that sometimes in a day you can feel like you haven't done anything, but when you look at the to-do list and you look at all those ticks, you're like reassured, that you have done something.
Yeah.
And you don't have to feel that way,
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a big difference, 100%.
Yeah, just before this, we had a little discussion about like different ways of like taking notes and stuff like that during lectures or not. Because I don't normally take notes during lectures because I feel like I lose myself in just the process of typing, and I prefer to normally I make notes while I'm studying. Is there anything that that's proven or like something that's a good way of like putting
note taking?
Yeah, note taking or just remembering what you're doing, because I feel like once you leave the classroom, things just leave your head,
Yeah.
How do you do it?
I totally agree with that taking notes during lectures can distract you from what's actually being presented in the lecture. I guess app-wise, what I've been using for university classwork is Evernote, and I've really enjoyed that. What I don't like about Google Drive, for example, which is what I used a lot in high school, was that you need to open separate documents, and you can't see all your notes in one place. And what I really like about Evernote is you have the sidebar and then you have the note, and you can just kind of see all of your notes very easily, Yeah. So I've been really enjoying that. You can highlight, which is what I used to do when I took paper notes. You can schedule tasks within Evernote, and that's how I keep track of my homework assignments. But in terms of the actual note taking, the class structure is generally you read something before class, you take notes, and then the lecture is pretty much a review of it. So for me, the most effective thing has been to take very good notes while I'm reading, and then in the lecture, I mostly just try to sit and absorb, because it's an opportunity to review, to hear it presented a different way, and I think that really reinforces the learning. So I'm usually not taking much notes. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll open up my textbook notes, and as the professor is talking, I'll add things. If they mention anything new, I'll add a few notes, or I'll reorganize it in a way that makes sense. But I do see my classmates sometimes literally staring at the screen and typing so fast to get all of the bullet points down, and I'm like, guys, this was literally in the textbook. What the professor is saying in class is probably very valuable, but you don't hear that at all if you're just trying to get word for word down from the lecture slides.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially because the slides are uploaded, people. Why are you doing that?
Work smarter, not harder. Yeah.
That's a good.
My 10th grade chemistry teacher said that. I can't take credit for that. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, that's true. So do you think writing notes or do you prefer typing? You prefer typing, right? Because you type it.
I prefer typing, yeah. I did handwrite in high school. I tried it in college, and I was no.
Because for some reason, I don't know why, but when I handwrite my notes, it just sticks better. I don't know if there's some science behind this, or the fact that you're moving kind of aesthetically or something.
There actually is.
There probably is
science. I saw
science.
something. They had one exam in some uni in America. They half took notes on their computers and half took notes by hand, and the people that did it by hand had I don't know 2 points on average or something better than the other ones. I obviously there's no.
Are you saying I do it the wrong way?
Well, what the research says.
Okay.
Well, I don't know,
According
like,
to my research.
But it works well for you, yeah?
No, I absolutely have heard the
Yeah.
handwriting thing, and I agree that it makes you engage more with the content. I guess I take great pride in how fast I can type, so it's so efficient for me.
Yeah.
And I think there are things you can do if you prefer typing to like get some of the benefits of handwriting, like trying to go back and read back through it, organize it in a way that makes sense to you. I think just the more you engage with your notes, instead of just like reading the textbook and pulling sentences word for word, dumping them in your notes and never looking at it again.
Yeah.
If you're trying to put it in your own words, summarize it, arrange it in a structure that makes sense to you, then your brain will still be engaging with that content.
Yeah. Talking
Cool.
helps for me.
Talking?
When I see like repeating stuff back to myself, but it depends on if you're an auditory, if you're visual, all that, right?
Yeah,
Depends
I
on
guess.
the
I like to
person.
do a little bit of each, I feel
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
When
yeah.
I'm intensely studying, I am having a full-on conversation with myself.
100%.
Damn. Also,
Yeah.
like teaching people, you know, like if you wanna.
Yeah.
I heard like I think it was Richard Feynman that had this concept that if you can teach a concept to a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, and if he understands it,
Yeah.
then you've completely understood the topic. If you can't, that means that you still have like flaws and stuff in your understanding.
Mhm.
So that also helps. Or like not even teaching, like actually just teaching it to yourself, you know, just talking to yourself as if you were the student and the teacher.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that helps as well.
Also, active recall is super important. So the idea of trying to challenge yourself to remember something without referencing your notes or the textbook. So this came in handy so much for me in my communication foundations class last year. My favorite class last semester.
Shout out.
Shout out whoever that is.
So when an exam was coming up, we would get a study guide, and we had to define a bunch of vocab terms and answer a bunch of questions. And I would always challenge myself first to go through and try to remember as much of it as I could. And it's tiring. Like, it would be so much easier to just go to my notes and find the information. But if I like power through and try to like challenge my brain to recall that information, it ends up being so much more effective in the end. And then whatever I don't remember, then I supplement it, and then I go back to my notes in the textbook. But as much as you can to challenge your brain to remember on its own, that really helps you on exam day. And it's harder, but it cuts down on total studying time, I think.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard about active recall it was on a Ali Abtal video.
Yeah.
Shout out. And
Come on the podcast.
yeah, very soon. And I was like, you know, it's so obvious that that's the best way to learn, you know.
Yeah.
But like no one really talks about it that much. They just prefer like taking notes, reading through it, highlighting, which are not the best ways.
No, yeah.
And active recall is like even if you like have like questions and not answers, and then you ask yourself those questions, that is also a good way. That I've experimented with that as well. So 100%.
Yeah, so when I would complete that study guide, then, you know, in the final study session leading up to the exam, what I would do is just like cover up the question, say the answer, check it, cover up the next one, you know, just always active recall.
Back to the basics. That's exactly with learning vocab and stuff, and like English literature. Back in like that's why they do it in
Even flashcards, you know. Have you ever used flashcards?
High school, so many
Yeah?
flashcards, yeah.
For like definitions and stuff like that. Yeah, that's cool. I wanted to ask you about. So you probably know about the term flow, like, you know, when people get into the flow state, and so like whenever I think about productivity, I think about like when you're in a total zone of intense focus. You know, when you're completely in the zone, you forget about time. You don't know if time's moving fast or slow. You don't know about your surroundings. You're just completely doing the task that is in front of you, you know?
Yeah.
So how do you get into the flow? Because like whenever I've gotten into the flow, it's just been like, it's just an insane like state of bliss, you know, like you're completely in it, you're loving it, you're doing it. And then it's just, I feel that it's really hard to get into that state. And that flow state can be like achieved in a lot of things, not only studying, like even when you're boxing, even when you're running and stuff. So how do you get into the flow state?
I've thought about that because I learned about flow actually in middle school. For some reason, I took a course about flow. So I remember that idea of like, you don't even realize time passing by anymore.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't think I experienced that much. Like,
Me too. We're in the same boat. I don't.
You know, if I'm doing the Pomodoro technique and I have a timer ringing every 25 minutes, time is not getting away from me. Or like, if I have scheduled out my entire week, usually time is not getting away from me. I feel like I always have a very acute awareness of time and how much time is going by. And I'm pretty good at like, I've gotten quite good at estimating, for example, like, oh, how much time did that just take? You know, if I wasn't looking at a clock. So I don't think I lose track of time, but maybe it can still be considered flow even without that element. I guess, yeah, for sure there are times when I'm working on something and it just is, I don't know, it's really working. I don't feel stuck. I feel like I'm making such good progress, and I don't even want to stop when the timer rings to take a break. And I guess the main thing for that is just like preparing and creating a good environment for that to happen. Like not having distractions, taking care of things. Like, you know what I said about not keeping things in your head and writing everything down? So if there's something at the back of my mind, that's going to keep me from fully engaging with what I'm doing. So yeah, if there's no distractions, there's nothing on my mind. I don't know, the workspace is comfortable. That is going to set me up for success. Yeah. I don't know if I can really say that I experienced true flow.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very actionable.
100%.
I feel like if people don't comment on our videos and say, you know what, this has actually
This
helped.
changed my life.
Exactly. Increased, like, I mean, I'm low-key, like, gonna go home and gonna actually start regimenting certain times for the stuff to do.
Yeah.
If there's, I mean, at least me, you guys should also join. I don't know.
It's like, you know, the things that you know you have to do it, but you just don't do it because, like, you're lazy or there's you're just, like, putting it off, you know?
There's
So
always
those
that
things.
one YouTube video. There's always that short history of the Roman Empire or something that's keeping you from getting to
the YouTube rabbit hole, bro. Oh, that's
so
insane.
Dangerous,
You just go click, and then it's like 30 minutes gone.
Exactly.
You know?
How do you deal with your sleep? Do you sleep at certain times?
I wake up at the same time every day.
That's good.
7:20 a.m. I really like starting my day early, and breakfast starts at 8. So, yeah, that's why I need to make it down there. Going to bed obviously varies depending on what's going on that day or if I have to finish something. On a very good week, I'll probably go to bed at like 11 or 11:30, but...
So you get your 8 hours, almost 8 hours.
On a good week. Ooh, yeah, those happen sometimes.
That's the goal.
You know, it's college. Yeah.
I get that.
We're in uni. Yeah. So, like...
It's college in America.
It's college.
College.
Guys, it's college. Yeah. I feel like this is something, if people don't take stuff away from this, they must be crazy. I feel like this is actually very, we're gonna, because obviously we make those notes and stuff every time, of each of the highlights.
I think I showed it to you, like after every podcast when we put it on YouTube, and then on Instagram we have the short clips, and then we have podcast notes, just condensing all the information.
This whole thing is a highlight. Everything is so
that's right.
valuable.
Every little second.
Every moment of this is perfect.
Wait, I would ask a couple.
Can you believe you're getting this content for free?
Free.
Next time she comes on, paywall, Patreon. It's gonna be on Patreon. Something we're gonna do.
100%.
Make money out of you guys.
I wanted to ask you, I'm sure you've heard of the systems approach to goal setting. Yeah. Like when you set systems and when you have habits and stuff. So could you just explain that a little bit? Because that was a little new to me, and I read it in the book Atomic Habits, which is a very famous book about this. So could you explain the approach?
Sure. So the systems-based approach to goal setting focuses more on how you're going to do something rather than the end point. So I guess since we've been talking a lot about schoolwork, a good example would be like if you set a goal to get a 9 GPA or something, it's very difficult to figure out what steps you're going to take to get there. Like, so many different factors go into your GPA, and all you're saying is, I want that number. So the likelihood of actually reaching that is not as high as if you were to set a systems-based goal. For example, if you said something like, I want to spend 2 hours every morning studying or something like that, and then you know that that's something that you can literally check off your to-do list every day, that's going to contribute to increasing your GPA, but it's something that's very specific and action-oriented. And a nice thing about it is that, like, if you set a goal to get a 9 GPA and then maybe something happens in your personal life that you were not anticipating and it prevents you from getting that, and then you feel like a failure, even though you couldn't really control those circumstances. But if your goal was to study 2 hours every morning, in most cases that is something that you can make happen almost every day, and then you'll feel successful regardless of what the outcome was. Probably it's going to be a good outcome, but it's just more adaptable, it's more actionable. Yeah.
I feel like now is the perfect time to
100%.
get to the most iconic segment of this podcast.
I think you have. Yeah, I showed it to you.
This.
So.
Is
Am I supposed to not see the questions? I won't look if
Yeah.
I'm.
Could you read this entire time?
The first
you
one.
read it?
The first
No
one.
way.
I saw the first one.
Okay, we're gonna have to add 15 seconds to your time.
Yeah, a penalty.
So basically, this is the part where we ask you 20 questions,
Okay.
and you have to answer them in as little time as possible.
Okay.
We have a leaderboard with
Okay.
lots of people on it.
Okay.
Mhm.
They've had pretty quick times. I'm not even gonna lie. And at the end of this
There's
season,
a lot of competition.
if you're at the top of the leaderboard, or maybe even the top 3, we'll see what we do. But you're gonna get a prize. We're gonna personally deliver chocolate to you.
In Segovia?
Chocolates and flowers.
Absolutely.
Oh my
absolutely.
god. Okay.
So there's an incentive. So whenever you're ready, tell us, and we will ask you the first question.
Okay. This is gonna be like a lot of favorites, right? Stuff like that.
Who knows? I don't know. I didn't do the questions.
Okay. Okay. I'm ready.
All right.
Fine.
Okay.
3. Ready?
Yeah.
You start with the first one, yeah?
Okay.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Favorite movie.
Ocean's 11.
Least favorite subject.
Public affairs.
Most favorite subject.
Visual and media culture.
Biggest achievement.
Second place at FBLA Nationals.
Your favorite habit.
Morning routine.
Biggest inspiration.
Oh my god. Why is this the hardest one? Okay, on YouTube I like Lavender.
All right. Favorite productivity YouTuber.
Lavender.
Best piece of advice.
Work smarter, not harder.
Favorite book.
The Defining Decade.
One thing on your bucket list.
Travel to Japan.
Do exams matter? Yes or no?
Yes.
Best investment.
A good laptop.
The greatest life lesson.
Enjoy the moment.
Go-to superpower.
Pause time.
One country you want to visit this year.
Italy.
Your biggest goal.
Have a career that's fulfilling.
Most inspirational influence on you.
Let's say my parents.
Something no one knows about you.
No one. Few. I can make like a clover shape with my tongue.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Maybe teaching in some way.
And do you feel fulfilled? Last question.
Yeah.
1 minute
And
and
58
58 seconds.
Okay.
You're in the top 10.
You're
You're
definitely,
somewhere.
you're definitely on the leaderboard. You're on the leaderboard.
All these questions about like the most influential person. Oh my god.
We just go, we go deep in this podcast.
Yeah.
No surface
Totally.
level stuff.
Okay.
All the way in.
Okay.
And now,
All right, and the last question we ask every guest is, how do you get rich?
Oh my god.
however you wish to interpret interpret it?
Yeah.
Or
Any
Anything.
definition of rich, whatever you want.
Okay, I'll actually do like money rich.
Okay.
We're gonna keep it surface level and shallow.
Which is not us, but that's, I mean.
That's your interpretation.
I think there's a lot of cool things going on the internet. Like, I honestly had trouble believing that I could ever actually create content on the internet and make money for it. Like, I think it was always a mental block for me where I was like, I would love to do this, but it's not going to happen for me. Like, it happens for other people, but not for me. And then it happened, and it was so exciting. I put so much work into it before I started receiving, like, any return on that investment, but I loved it, so I didn't mind doing it. And now it's like, now sometimes I have to remind myself, like, this is what you wanted for so long, and now you can actually, like, do what you really enjoy and get paid for it, and people enjoy your videos, and you've, like, built this community, and that's just insane. So obviously not everyone's going to enjoy content creation, but if it's something you ever have thought about, I would say don't, like, listen to the people who say, oh, it's too late to start a YouTube channel, or there's already enough YouTubers and Instagrammers and TikTokers and whatever. Like, old channels and accounts fade, other ones get popular. There's always room for new people to enter, so just try it. Like, if you enjoy it, you're not going to lose anything by trying it. You'll just gain some skills and have fun.
Yeah, do that. Unless you want to do a podcast, which is, get off our turf.
Don't even try to compete.
Go somewhere else.
Barriers of entry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is just us here.
Yeah, that's a great way to
this is
end
good.
the interview.
Yeah, I like this a lot. This is a nice, different answer. Very specific with where you went.
Yeah.
I like that.
Some people have very philosophical answers, but yours
Has
is
anyone
very...
been like, here's 3 steps to get rich?
Doctor, I mean, one unreleased episode, we're not going to reveal the guest, but he said something about investment and stuff.
Yeah,
Give
maybe some stocks or something, I think.
Yeah,
Oh
something
yeah,
about stocks.
set up a retirement savings account.
Oh, do you have one?
I did. Yeah, I think I did that when I was 19, and I was so proud of myself.
You should be
And
proud of
it's-
yourself. You're 19, starting a retirement savings account.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very easy. Like, yeah, we had a presentation in high school about savings or whatever, and the guy said at the very end, if you get anything from this, is start saving for retirement now. Even if you put in a little bit, it grows a lot. So
Yeah, a
it's
little bit
effortless, it's fun.
every week, every
Yeah.
month. It's going to
We're gonna
compound.
get old, hopefully. So like,
yeah.
you're gonna need some money to buy baguettes and stuff like that back in the future. So yeah, thank you so
Amazing.
much.
Thank
for
you
joining
very
us
much.
today.
Appreciate it.
Thank
It's
you. I
been
had
really
a lot
cool.
of fun.
It's been really, thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you.
been cool with you, and
Yes.
yeah,